comes to the war on drugs, if you wanted a narc in New York City, you got your narc, Eric Adams. Eric Adams is your narc. Maybe Andrew Yang or Ray McGuire, or maybe Kathryn Garcia. Maybe Kathryn Garcia. But compare and contrast, Jocelyn Taylor, only Jocelyn Taylor and Diane Morales are going to end Nixon's war on drugs. Out of all 13 candidates, you only got 2 brave progressives who's going to end Richard Milhouse Nixon's failed 1971 50-year war on drugs. Both Jocelyn Taylor and Diane Morales are going to legalize or decriminalize all the drugs. They will decriminalize simple drug possession. Maya Wiley, she's going to legalize marijuana and Narcan. Good old delicious Narcan, right? It's mist. Is it Narcan, a mist spray? What the hell is Narcan? And then Andrew the Yang. Andrew the Yang is going to legalize marijuana. He's going to legalize psychedelic mushrooms. He's going to legalize Percocets and Oxycontin. So that's some hillbilly heroin. Watch out, New York City. Andrew the Yang is going to bring some hillbilly heroin into a neighborhood near you. Now, that's, Eric Adams is your narc. Jocelyn Taylor and Diane Morales are going to end the entire war on drugs. Most of them, the state of New York has already legalized marijuana. So the only changes with Maya and Andrew the Yang is they're going to add Narcan to marijuana, or that's Maya Wiley, or Andrew the Yang is going to add psychedelic mushrooms, Percocets, and Oxycontins into the decriminalization. So legalize weed, mushrooms, Percocet, Oxycontin. Jocelyn Taylor and Diane Morales says all drugs legalized. Stop with the fucking insanity. This is a freedom issue. This is an economics issue. So there you go. This is all about Kathryn Garcia. This is all about good old Kathryn Garcia. Okay, so Kathryn Garcia, she is more of your narc, right? She probably believes in legalizing marijuana, but maybe not. I don't know. Illegal weed, I think she wants to keep it all illegal, right? She wants tobacco to be legal. She smokes cigarettes every day. She smokes a pack of cigarettes every day. So Kathryn Garcia is for legal tobacco, but illegal marijuana, illegal Narcan, illegal mushrooms, illegal Percocets, illegal Oxycontin. War on drugs will go strong, but cocaine is not allowed in New York City. Tobacco will be, but not cocaine. So Kathryn Garcia is like the opposite of Peru and Bolivia. She's backwards. Kathryn Garcia is a Marlboro Red. She is a Marlboro Red. And she only looks like, white trash meth head. She only looks like a white trash meth head because she smokes a pack of cigarettes a day. So don't say, well, she's on meth and she's against the war on drugs. No, she only looks like that. Now, Kathryn Garcia, she's got a huge gap. There's a huge gap between her policy, her progressive policies, and her neoliberal policies. Now, the radical darlings of New York City, Jocelyn Taylor, Diane Morales, they're going to end Nixon's war on drugs. They're going to decriminalize drugs. And Kathryn Garcia, well, she's going to make sure cigarettes are decriminalized, so that way you can go ahead and get yourself a nice tobacco stick. Let's listen to Kathryn Garcia. This is what she sounds like.
I was born and raised in Brooklyn. Went to public schools. Actually, my daughter actually had my 5th grade teacher as her kindergarten teacher. And when I was doing a class with some 5th graders the other day, many of them had my 3rd grade teacher. So I have stayed pretty close to where I was raised. I now live 2 blocks from my...
Okay, fascinating stuff there, Kathryn Garcia. So here's some good policies. She mostly has good policies, a couple bad planks, and then I'll give you my conclusion, a couple neutral things too. So, who is Kathryn Garcia? Who is Kathryn Garcia? Who she is versus her policies. Let's find out who she is through her policies. So Kathryn Garcia, she actually wants to solve the homeless crisis. There's, 8.5 million people in New York City. You only got 50,000 homeless. It's only a tiny amount of people comparatively speaking. 8.5 million, 50,000. You could build a bunch of tiny new homes, and that's exactly what Kathryn Garcia is going to do. How are they going to solve the homelessness crisis in New York City? 50,000 homeless people Kathryn Garcia is going to fix. She has promised to build 50,000 new units. That solves homelessness. That solves homelessness in New York City. She's also going to create like 10,000 supportive units and 10 drop-in centers to provide 24-hour bathroom service and other critical services, accelerate approvals for new housing construction, streamline ULURP. So she's going to build 50 new houses. 50,000 new houses is going to come. Homelessness, assuming that number is correct, that just seems crazy. That seems very low. 50,000 homeless, that's it? Just 50,000? And then if you create 50,000 units, then you don't have to beat them all up like Andrew Yang wants to do. So, there you go. Kathryn Garcia is actually going to solve the homelessness crisis in New York City by building homes for the people that don't have homes. She's also going to significantly expand bike and bus lanes. She's going to expand the bike lane network by 250 miles. There is some sort of permit. You get the permits, they pay, the bikers pay for the permits, and then she gets brand new bike lanes, use those permit profits and turn them into roads. Converting Rikers Island to a renewable energy hub, electrifying school buses and garbage trucks. So she believes in shutting Rikers Island down too. I guess is it already shut down? But they're going to convert it to a renewable energy hub, so a bunch of solar power and shit. That's awesome. Kathryn Garcia. She wants to increase patrols in neighborhoods with a history of shooting. The neighborhoods that have history of crimes. Seems obvious and common sense, but Garcia County, they can't even afford $5 in gasoline to drive to County Road G, even though it's, a main road to Antonito, and it's a famous road. It's a historical road called La Verda. So Kathryn Garcia at least says that the police should drive through your neighborhood, especially if you live in a crime-ridden neighborhood. So that's... I can't stand Kathryn Garcia, but she's more progressive than the sheriff of Garcia County. She hates bureaucracy. That's her kryptonite. She's going to be all about efficiency. And then, that's about it. So she's going to cut. She is kind of a bureaucrat, though, right? She works in the sanitation department or worked in it, and then she quit. So she's a quitter. But cutting bureaucracy is her kryptonite. Bureaucrats are fucking terrible. You pay them $20 an hour, but they don't have a fucking second for the public. Government is absolute awful. Absolute awful. You drive all the way there, you get out, you walk up, and you say, hi, oh, don't have fucking time for you? Motherfuck, Jesus Christ. So glad paying my taxes to get, contempt from you. Adding green roofs and solar panels to city buildings, nice, Jimmy Carter, right? We're going to get some green roofs and we're going to get some solar panels. She's in favor of charter schools. I am okay with charter schools. Public education. I would love it if public education protected freedom and democracy, but it doesn't. Only Sudbury Model Schools does, and that's a private school. So the only way that my kids would get the education that I want them to have is through homeschooling or a charter school. One of the biggest armed forces in the world, New York City Police Department, $10 billion. Colorado, the state of Colorado has $33 billion to give you a compare and contrast. So the budget for the New York City Police Department is $10 billion versus $33 billion in Colorado. That's 1/3. The New York City, just one department, it's got $95 billion total, $95 billion. So actually, the city of New York has a budget 3 times as big as Colorado. And then the New York Police Department has a budget that's 1/3 the size of the state of Colorado, just to give you a sense of the size of New York City. So, she's going to require that any of the brand new officers must be from New York City. That seems obvious. How the fuck you're going to hire somebody from New Jersey to police New York Cityans? Basically, you're setting up. I mean, that's going to be brutality. They're going to zero tolerance for officer infractions. You must live in the area where you're patrolling, or in the city at least. Kathryn Garcia also wants to pair officers with mental health workers in subway patrols and increase the number of officers underground. Kathryn Garcia she supports decriminalizing sex work, so she's going to legalize prostitution. Kathryn Garcia is going to make it easier to get a permit in New York City to open a restaurant. Kathryn Garcia is going to add 250 brand new miles of protected bike lanes. She's also going to build a shit ton of infrastructure improvements. She's going to repair the crumbling Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, repurpose parts of the Cross-Bronx Expressway for green space, complete the Gateway Rail Tunnel between Manhattan and New Jersey, building a 3.5-mile Queensway Park on a defunct Rockaway train line and adding more transit options to Staten Island's West Shore, from the Gateway Project to rebuilding the BQE and a new light rail for the Richmond Avenue corridor in Staten Island. So there you go. There we go. We're learning about who...
But I am one of the three of us that they adopted. Two of my other siblings were black, and two others were not. I was like 5 moms, a lot. I never achieved that number. I only ended up having 2. And then I was really inspired to go into public service. And for the last 14 years, I have worked in city government, first as the chief operating officer at DEP, which means I was responsible for your water and sewer system, made sure you got to brush your teeth every day. And then in 2014 became the commissioner of sanitation, picking up the trash and the recyclables as well.
So, Kathryn Garcia, you just heard her. She's adopted. She was adopted with 5 kids. There was 5 kids that was adopted. She was an orphan, and so there's 4 other adopted kids. 2 were black and 2 were not, so she actually was adopted into a mixed-race family. So, crazy-ass journey. Went through the system, right? She's of the system, so she's orphaned. Went through the, I guess, child services or whatever, and then found a foster family, and then that's her origins. So, fascinating origins, Kathryn Garcia. Now, there's a lot of these superficial things. Policy is the only thing that matters. So, okay, she's got, steel blue eyes too, right? She's blonde hair, blue-eyed, white woman. Uh-oh, better watch out, right? I think that's why people are, trusting her. They're just trusting her too much. She just, seems so resolute in her pictures, and she doesn't mess up in her interviews and shit. So let's talk about superficial things. So who is Kathryn Garcia? When she was 5 years old, she wanted to be a ballerina. Her favorite thing about New York City is that it's basically a small town. You actually do bump into the same folks that you know on the streets. So let's see, more superficial bullshit. She's never jumped a turnstile, so, hop the train. She ain't going to hop the train. No, paper boy, Kathryn Garcia ain't hopping the train. Or skipped out on paying the MTA fare because she had a free train pass most of the time growing up. So that's fucking nice, huh? Get a nice free train pass. And then her favorite place for pizza, it sounded like she said L&B or L&B in Brooklyn. L&B or L&B. Breakfast at a bodega. Her order is bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll. A bodega is a small owner-operated convenience store. Its name is derived from the Spanish word for storeroom or wine cellar. Bodega. Kathryn Garcia's favorite borough is Brooklyn. She likes the Nets over the Knicks. She likes the Yankees over the Mets. Kathryn Garcia rode the Cyclone roller coaster at Coney Island, but she got bruised. Kathryn Garcia has been to the New York Botanical Gardens. She toured the Statue of Liberty, but just the base because it was closed. At the top. Couple things I'm neutral about Kathryn Garcia. She wants to do the gun buyback program. Instead of spending $200 per gun, she's going to spend $2,000 per gun, which I guess to make it work or some shit. I'm kind of neutral on it because I think that this is voluntary, so it's got the right idea. But $2,000, I just feel like somebody might try to profit on it. Go buy, a gun for $500, sell it to them for $2,000. Do that a couple times. That's $1,500 every time you do it. And then she says deeply affordable. This is just annoying. She's like, oh, we're going to make sure housing is deeply affordable. Who the fuck talks like that? Has she ever been poor in her life? Deeply affordable? You mean cheap? Make sure housing is cheap without, sacrificing quality? How about something like that? Cheap, dirt fucking cheap. Cheap, 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 cheap. Cheap, 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 cheap. Very affordable. I want a very affordable house. A deeply affordable? I don't know. It just makes it sound like she's never talked about money before. What kind of house you want? You know, a deeply affordable house. I want one that, you know, really encapsulates how deeply poor I am. How deeply, and then deeply. It's like you have to dig deep in your pocket, so that makes it sound opposite. Deeply affordable, shallowly affordable. Just, you know, pocket lint affordable. Pennies on the dollar affordable. Deeply affordable? I don't know, Kathryn Garcia. You may have been poor at one point in time.
No. The other morning when it snowed, I was like, I want to go check on where the spreaders are, but that's not my role anymore. They did a fabulous job, but really got to roll out some significant environmental programs, expanding curbside organics collection, which is really the next hurdle on climate change, but also expanding electronic waste recycling across the city and banning styrofoam and making sure that we are going to be using reusable bags now. So an exciting time to be at the department. But while I was there, I ended up having several other hats. I was the lead czar, which really meant that I was responsible for coming up with a plan.
She was a lead czar. She's very much a bureaucrat. She's a bureaucrat who hates bureaucrats. The lead czar. I don't like that czar talk because, I mean, they're the fascists in chief, right? You have to obey the fucking boss, obey them. Does anybody say anything about their fucking fascism? You know what? I've actually have nobody in the fucking world that actually is against fascism. I've never talked to anybody that's actually against fascism. Not in real life. I've never talked to anybody that was like, you know what? He's a fascist and we should do something about it. Because I would be like, fucking A. Let's do that. In fact, there's somebody that posted something, George Orwell was saying how by calling everybody fascist, you're actually watering down the word. Nobody in America talks about fascism. They kiss fascist ass in public schools, the fucking police. That's all they do is kiss fucking fascist ass. They don't even... Okay. So I only have a couple problems with Kathryn Garcia. I only have 3 problems with her. And the one problem, okay, is to get the trash off the sidewalk. Actually, I got 4 problems. There's a big gap between her neoliberal policies and, you know, the progressive policies of her opponents. There's a huge gap. And maybe I should have compared and contrast them. I'll do that next. Compare and contrast like Diane Morales versus... So, Kathryn Garcia wants to get the trash bags off the sidewalks. We need to get the trash bags off the sidewalks. You just heard her. She just said that she just finished being the sanitation, you know, commissioner, the czar, the sanitation's, I'm the trash czar. I'm the lead czar. Okay, you're the lead czar? Mm-hmm. Yep, I control all the lead. The lead has to obey me. Get the trash bags off the sidewalk. I got a problem with this because she was a sanitation person. She was in charge of all the goddamn trash. And now you're saying as mayor you're going to get the... Why are there trash bags on the fucking sidewalk? They're going to have a containerization program to get the piles of trash bags off the sidewalks. They're going to try to do more composting, incentivize residents to reduce waste, pursue an extended producer responsibility policy. So, okay, that's an obvious common sense solution. I don't hate that idea. What I hate is that Kathryn Garcia was a sanitation commission. She was the queen of New York City's trash. Shouldn't she have already got the trash bags off the sidewalk? Wasn't that her job already? So, Kathryn Garcia's job was to get the trash bags off the sidewalk, and she failed at it. What kind of Department of Sanitation commissioner was she if she still has to become mayor just to get the trash bags off the sidewalk? Now, her education planks to her platform, the education planks to her platform, advancing the universal literacy goal of 2023, getting all students to grade level reading by 3rd grade. Oh, okay, 100% literacy. That's the fucking goals. My God, literacy. Oh, hopefully we all could read. Yeah, that's something that's, Jesus Christ, of course, fucking course. But that's like that should be the lowest. What about the STEM? What about getting everybody educated? What about science, technology, engineering, math? What about being competitive with the international rankings? We're slipping in all these, but we're just worried about literacy. It's not ambitious enough. It's not ambitious enough. Just literacy. And by, hey, New York, by 2023, you're going to be reading. I'm going to make sure you're reading in 2 years. 2 years? Why did it take you so fucking long? Jesus Christ. Just do it in 3 months. So, she's a bureaucratic fascist, and the idea of cutting any budget is, unfathomable. The idea of government versus capitalist, they take the money and spend it, and what they don't spend, then so it is kind of backwards. What they don't spend, then they don't get that back, because they don't get any credit for saving money. They got to spend their budget, and that'll be the amount of budget that they get next year. So, this is troubling that she is so staunchly against defunding the police. She is so staunchly a narc who's all about the war on drugs. She's not for universal health care. Okay, so 5. She's not for universal health care, right? Her education plan is just literacy. She didn't pick up all the trash bags that was on. What was her damn job? You didn't pick up the trash bags on the sidewalk? Are they still piling up, or what's going on with that situation? She wants more war on drugs, less health care. Cutting a police budget is just unfathomable to her. So you have Maya Wiley and Jocelyn Taylor, who are both proposing cutting $1 billion from the $10 billion budget of the police department and redistributing that to social services. That's how they're going to defund the police, by letting New York City Police Department have $9 billion still. They're going to keep $9 billion. So I know $9 billion, how can the New York City Police, how can they eat? How can they fucking eat anymore with only $9 billion? Actually, to save a bunch of money, you should just fire a bunch of officers, right? Labor, isn't labor like the biggest cost? There's got to be like electronic things that you could do that's just replace them with robots. Kathryn Garcia is going to say in one of her ads, Black Lives Matters, full stop. But then she's going to say, but we still need police. What? Ray McGuire says black people don't believe in, defunding the police. So the fact that she looks at Black Lives Matter as being fundamentally against the police, look, I think black their lives matter. But we need blue lives too. We need the black lives. We need the thin blue line. We need the thin blue line. So that's totalitarian fascism. That's totalitarian fascism. Oh, she's going to, really fucking put the hammer down. She's going to zero tolerance, right? No infractions. Make sure they're, going everywhere, driving everywhere and patrolling. Yeah, okay, zero tolerance. Make sure she raises the recruit age from 21 to 25. Increase the recruitment age from 21 to 25. Yeah, that's going to really fucking stop the goddamn police brutality. That's going to really straighten up the police. And you know what, 21, that might be the Serpico. It might be cocky and fucking criminal, or it might be cocky and fucking Serpico as fuck. You're going to make sure that they get, used to the established system for another 4 years. I don't see how making sure that new cop recruits are 25 years of age instead of 21, I don't see how that makes anything better. But that's our police reform. It's very little. It's very small. It's very skimpy. She's not going to defund the police. She's not going to cut $1 billion of the $10 billion budget. She acts like it's the dumbest idea in the world. What? No, we need the police to solve the She actually is going to, I'll give her that credit, she is going to solve the homelessness problem. So, that's where you could spend the $1 billion. Put that $1 billion from the New York City and put it into the housing, the 50,000 houses that she promised. Now, she's also going to do some other shit, that this is just totally against Diane Morales. Diane Morales wants to democratize the Citizen Complaint Review Board. You got the Citizen Complaint Review Board, and then you got the commissioner. So you got police commissioner, you got the police, the Civilian Complaint Review Board. The only way that the cops are going to be held accountable is if you have the police, a different group of police, policing the police, and they fucking actually do their damn job, and they have, full authority to do all the investigation, subpoena, arrest. They could do all. They have all the powers that. So the police commissioner needs to be balanced. Kathryn Garcia is not balanced, so she's going to pick a right-wing police commissioner. And then the Civilian Complaint Review Board, they want to democratize it and make it an elected position, so that way there's a civilian in there, and that way also strengthen it and give it more power. But Kathryn Garcia doesn't believe in that. She thinks the police commissioner should have the final disciplinary authority, not the Civilian Complaint Review Board. I think that would be fucking brilliant. Take it away from the police commissioner and just put it in the hands of the Citizen Complaint Review Board. Or make sure that the police commissioner is a civilian and not a police officer. The commissioner's appointment should not be made subject to the city council's approval, so there's less democracy. So when you have Diane Morales, she's pushing for more democracy in the oversight of the police board. You have Kathryn Garcia say we need less democracy. We need less democracy. No, we're not going to put the CCRB in power. We're not going to let the city council, double check the police commissioner that Kathryn Garcia appoints. This actually, the more that I talk, it almost feels like Kathryn Garcia already has a police commissioner in mind who she wants to appoint. So I hope she didn't, make that deal beforehand. But that's what that sounds like to me. She wants to pick her police commissioner. She doesn't want the city council to say no. She doesn't want the civilian complaint review board to say no. She wants to pick the police commissioner that she wants to pick without any democratization whatsoever, without the three branches of government, without getting entangled with the three branches of government. So that's worrisome. That's worrisome. That makes it sound like she's a fascist fuck when it comes to ranked choice voting. She doesn't seem to understand ranked choice voting. When Andrew Yang said that he would have voted for Kathryn Garcia as his number 2 choice, well, she said that she wouldn't rank Yang in her top 5. So that's stupid. You could have got all them Yang voters if you would have just said, yeah, I'd put you in my top 5. You don't even have to specifically say, you just say you put all the ones you like in your top 5. Anytime somebody, hey, what do you think about what do you think? Oh, he's in my top 5. And I would have actually come up with a list, come up with your top 5 list. So she doesn't understand ranked elections. You must vote for 5 candidates that you like and approve of. If you don't like them, then don't vote for them. If you don't approve of them, don't vote for them. You can't vote against anybody. You can only vote for people in a ranked election. So you got to study 13 candidates, find at least 5 that you like, and then rank them in order from 1 to 5. So, yeah, the Yang showed more sophistication when it came to ranked choice voting. Kathryn Garcia didn't seem to understand that if she would have just said, yeah, put Yang in her top 5, then all those Yang voters would have voted. They're campaigning right now side by side, so I wonder if she's changed her mind on that. It's fucking insane. All these goddamn candidates should tell us their top 5, because if you're a long shot candidate, telling me who your number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 tells me more about you, tells me that you can empathize, tells me that you could get into you want me to think that, empathize with you, put myself in your shoes to let you lead us to the promised land. You can't even put yourself in other people's shoes. And so also, by ranking the other candidates, you're saying the ones that you respect and admire, and if you or they win, then you can, work on coalitions and working with them being in your government. So that'd be, match made in heaven. So Kathryn Garcia. I don't like her. Let's listen to another second.
For how agencies could more effectively work together and what other legislation we needed to finally eliminate exposure to elevated blood lead levels for children. And in 2019, it went down by 20%. I mean, I'm a little concerned that kids didn't get tested this year because of the pandemic and people being afraid to go to the doctor. But I'm hoping that we are well on our way to finally ending that. And then for a little while, I ended up being chair of NYCHA, which was enlightening and horrifying. I mean, the conditions that tenants have lived under for so many years was quite shocking. We need to put them on a path to rehabilitation. And then during the pandemic, I got a call on a Friday in mid-March, and the directive was more or less, please make sure no one goes hungry. And that was twofold. It was both about understanding our supply chains and what was happening nationally and what was happening with the trucking industry, but also making sure for our most vulnerable and for people who were sick that we were delivering or just...
See, Miss Razzle-Dazzle, right? I think she's just so conservative that she's just trying not to fuck up, that she's not saying anything that's remotely interesting. The mayor has to get us sold on the vision that they're designing for the city. I don't know the vision. I don't see the vision. It just looks like a bureaucrat that says, we've been working on all this bureaucratic shit, so let's keep on working on this bureaucratic shit. Some of it makes sense. The other parts just looks like she's been inside the machine for such a long time. She doesn't understand ranked elections. which is, you know, worrisome. She wants a police commissioner. She's all about fascism. She's she's against or for the war on drugs. So she's against personal freedom. That's bad economics. And then